In today's session, like we can think about a scenario. What happened when too many of records there in the database, and why we need to do the scaling in database, and how to do yes, scaling in database. Okay, so let's take a scenario where I have an employee table. Okay, so I'm going to add all my employee details in that particular table, like employee name, his address, his image, and few other details, right? So let's say at some point, like I have more than 60-70,000 employees in my employees table, right? Like maybe a million employees in my employee table. Okay, so in that case, when I go and search for a particular employee, okay, I have to scan through all the 1,000 employees, and if I take all the records, you know it is really going to impact the performance of my query, right? So what I need to do in this case, like, so the only solution in here is like, you have to think about scaling, right? So initially, like, we have a less amount of data, and we did very good job, but when there's too many of data, the performance is hitting. So to improve the performance, we have to think about the scaling. Okay, we have to scale up the application now, right? So how to do the scaling in database side, right? So basically there are two types of, if you take any not in the database, if you think about a scaling, there are two ways. One is horizontal, one is vertical. Okay, if you take at the application server level, okay, if you want to scale an application at a horizontal level, like you need to add more RAM and more hardwares to see how you can optimize the performance. At a vertical level, at a vertical level, you need to think about adding the RAM, but at a horizontal level, you need to add more servers, right? So that is how it works in the application server level. But in the database level, it's almost the same concept, where you have a horizontal partitioning, like the scaling is related to the partitioning here. Okay, so you need to think about the horizontal partitioning and vertical partitioning. So okay, so there are two types of partition in the database. One is called horizontal partition, and another one is called vertical partition. Let's see what is the vertical partition, right? So vertical partition is nothing but it is more a kind of a data table normalization. So what we need to do, like, maybe we need to split the table into multiple table, okay, in such a way the critical columns, right, the most frequently used columns may be a part of one of the table, okay, and less frequently used columns can be part of another table, and those two can be connected using a identity, right, a referential key, right? So this is nothing but a vertical partition in such a way. So what will happen now, okay, this table is having very less record when compared to this master table, right? So whenever I want to go and hit search for my like my employee using my employee ID, okay, there is not too much of records. I need to I need to scan through, and let's say, like, I want to search for an employee with name starting with S, right? So in that case, I don't want to load too many of data in my result set, right? So that way, like, I'm improving my performance using the vertical scaling. Okay, in case of horizontal scaling, this is more like a sharding, okay, table sharding. So what you need to do, okay, it is you need to split your table. Again, you have to split your table into multiple table in such a way. Now it is all based upon the data. Okay, so let's say you have like 6,000 employees, or 600 employees as per this picture. Let's say you have 600 employees in a table. Okay, so the first 200 employees goes to one table, and rest of the employees goes to the next table. Okay, and if you want to add more employee ID, that will go to next table. So in such a way, you know so what I'm doing here is kind of a sharding. So whenever a query comes, okay, it will directly go to the respective table and fetch for the employee details. So it doesn't need to go through all the 600 or 1000 or millions of record. It should just need to deal with the group of records, the subset of records, right? So that is the other way of improving the performance in database. Okay, so that is nothing but horizontal partition in database. I hope you are all clear on this one. Like, there are two types of partition. Generally we have, when we think about a scaling of a table level, okay, there are two type of, we have to think about a partition. Okay, and there are two type of partitions: horizontal partition, vertical partition. Vertical partition is splitting the table in such a way, it's almost kind of a normalization, like critical columns on one table and less critical columns on another table. But horizontal is like split table based upon the data. Like you have to segregate based on the data. Like first 100 employees goes to one, rest 100 goes to another, and the rest goes to another. Like that way, you just keep increasing the number of tables. Okay. Hope you all guys are good with this horizontal and vertical.